Before we begin, when Carl Jung used the word man, he did not mean gender. He meant the conscious mind, man or woman. If you carry these questions, this video is for you. And the fact that you are here is not an accident. Your consciousness brought you here. Something in you was searching, and it found this. Jung defined the truly modern man with surgical precision. He said, "The modern man is not simply anyone alive today. He is the one who is fully conscious of the present, who has outgrown the stages of the past, who stands at the edge of what is known and looks into what is not yet." In today's language, modern man is a machine without manual instructions. The roadmap his forefathers carried, the one that told him who he was, why he was here, and how to live, was not lost. It was taken, systematically dismantled by a new order that made the old system guilty of everything and offered nothing real in its place. The common man lost his archive. He is left with comfort, but no instructions for what to do with it. The modern conscious man went further than comfort. He dived into the peaks of knowledge. He read, he searched, he questioned. He learned to live in the present moment, that place the spiritual teachers point to, where fear of the future and regret of the past fall away. And he became aware of his potential. But awareness has a price. Jung described him precisely. He is rather the man who stands upon a peak or at the very edge of the world, the abyss of the future before him, above him the heavens, and below him the whole of mankind with a history that disappears in primeval mists. Everything he built around him, every comfort available, and still, when he looks inside, he finds loneliness, a longing for something deep that no peak of knowledge and no material comfort has ever touched. There is a particular kind of person who watches a video like this. He is not the average man. He has questions, not questions about money or status or what other people think of him. Deeper questions, questions that arrive at night when everything is quiet and the distractions are gone. Why am I here? What is the purpose of all of this? What am I actually searching for? He tries to answer these questions with his own mind, his own reading, his own reasoning. And he gets somewhere. He reads, he thinks, he searches, but the answer never fully arrives. The question just gets bigger, and the yearning, that unnamed ache inside, gets deeper. Jung called this man the truly modern man, and he said something that almost no one talks about. The man who has attained consciousness of the present is solitary. Every step towards fuller consciousness removes him further from his original participation mystique with the herd, that unconscious merging with the crowd, from submersion in a common unconsciousness. In other words, the more conscious you become, the more alone you feel. Not because something is wrong with you, because consciousness itself separates you from the comfortable unconsciousness of the crowd. Jung went further. An honest admission of modernity means voluntarily declaring oneself bankrupt, taking the vows of poverty and chastity in a new sense, and what is still more painful, renouncing the halo of sanctity which history bestows. To be truly conscious means giving up the comfort of certainty, the comfort of inherited answers, the comfort of belonging to something larger than yourself, and standing, alone, at the edge. Jung called this a burden of guilt. A higher level of consciousness is like a burden of guilt. You have outgrown what used to contain you, and nothing has replaced it yet. Jung wrote this in 1933. He was looking at Europe and seeing what was coming. One world war already behind him, and the shadow of something worse on the horizon. The collapse of every ideal that civilization had built. He was scared, not of an enemy outside, of what he saw inside, in the psyche of modern man. And in the same chapter, in the same breath, he looked at the Western psyche and saw what he called a bird of prey, an insatiable hunger to lord it over the world. He spoke with a governor of the Pueblo Indians, a man who watched the white man with quiet eyes, and said to Jung directly, "What is it that the whites want? They are always wanting something. They are always restless. We think they are crazy." Jung saw the hypocrisy clearly. Under the moral incense of civilization, the West brought science to Asia and missions to Africa, and left behind opium trades, venereal disease, and the systematic destruction of every culture it touched. Jung did not share this to condemn. He shared it because he believed that what a civilization does to others, it is also doing to itself. The bird of prey does not only devour the world, it devours the soul of the one who becomes it. He saw a society standing at the edge of destruction. But here is what Jung could not have known. The 21st century made everything he feared worse, not better. The digital revolution promised connection. It delivered loneliness. The advancement of technology promised purpose. It delivered distraction. Political turmoil has brought the world closer to catastrophe than at any point since Jung's time. More mental chaos, more psychological disorder, more emptiness in the middle of more abundance than any civilization in human history. Modern man today has more access to everything and less sense of purpose than ever before. Jung's warning was for 1933, but he was describing 2025. Jung saw all of this with extraordinary clarity. He spent his entire life mapping the interior of the human psyche with more precision than anyone before him. And yet, he could not close the wound he described. He circled the answer his entire life. And yet Jung himself spent the final decades of his life not in the consulting room, but in the study of symbols, alchemy, and the numinous. He was reaching. He simply did not know toward what. And at the end of his life, he made a confession that most people who quote him have never read. He said, "Among those in the second half of life, there has not been one whose problem in the last resort was not that of finding a religious outlook on life. It is safe to say that every one of them fell ill because he had lost that which the living religions of every age have given their followers, and none of them has really been healed who did not regain his religious outlook." The greatest psychologist of the 20th century, after a lifetime of mapping the interior of the human mind, admitted that psychology alone was not enough, that the wound was religious, and the medicine had to be religious. He knew the wound. He could not name the medicine. That is where Iqbal begins. At the same time Jung was writing in Switzerland, a Sufi philosopher and poet in the East was looking at the same civilization. His name was Dr. Mohammed Iqbal. And where Jung saw a patient, Iqbal saw a suicide in progress. Iqbal warned us, "Your civilization will commit suicide with its own dagger. A nest built on a fragile branch will never remain stable." He saw a corruption not just of politics or economics, but of the heart and the vision. The civilization of the West is a corruption of the heart and vision, for the soul of this culture has lost its purity. And he described the modern psyche with devastating precision. Its feet are in the water, but its heart is in the furnace. This Western civilization is on the threshold of death. Two men, same decade, different worlds, same diagnosis. Jung from inside the civilization, Iqbal from outside it, both seeing the same wound. But only one of them knew what the medicine was. And the Quran, 14 centuries before either of them, had already named the cause. "And be not like those who forgot Allah, so he made them forget themselves." Modern man did not lose himself first. He forgot God first. And when he forgot God, he was made to forget himself. The self-knowledge crisis Jung diagnosed, the loneliness, the emptiness, the yearning, the void, is not the cause. It is the consequence. The cause was the forgetting. The question that made you conscious, "What is my purpose?" is not a symptom of your emptiness. It is the beginning of your answer. There is a saying the Sufi tradition has carried for centuries: "Whoever knows himself, knows his Lord." Jung said, "Know your unconscious and you will know yourself." The Sufi tradition says, "Know yourself and you will know God." Same starting point, completely different destination. Because one path ends at the self, the other path begins there. In Sufism, the journey of the modern conscious man begins with one act: repentance, sincere, complete, with love. He surrenders everything in front of his Creator. His knowledge, his reasoning, his own will. The very things the Western mind considers its greatest strengths, he lays them down. Not because they are worthless, but because he has finally understood that they were never enough to answer what his soul was asking. And this is not the repression Jung warned against. Jung said what is suppressed goes underground and returns as neurosis. Al-Ghazali understood this 9 centuries earlier. The tazkiyah does not suppress the lower self. It transforms it, redirecting its energy toward what the soul was always meant to serve. And then, something shifts. The loneliness, gone. The yearning, gone. Not because the world changed, but because he is no longer searching for a destination. He is traveling, from one station to the next, from one level of understanding to the next. His entire life becomes the journey, and the journey has a destination that no philosophy, no psychology, no peak of knowledge ever offered him. When he passes from this world into the eternal world, he will arrive at the home his soul was always crying for. The wandering is over. The journey has begun. But the Sufi tradition did not leave the seeker without a map. 9 centuries before Jung, a man known as Hujjat-ul-Islam, the proof of Islam, Imam Al-Ghazali, wrote what may be one of the most precise manuals of human self-knowledge ever produced. And if you feel resistance right now, whether you are coming from the West or from within the Muslim world itself, you are not alone. This tradition has been dismissed from both directions. The Western mind was conditioned to see it as primitive or extreme. The modern Muslim mind was conditioned to see it as innovation or deviation. 2 different narratives, one purpose: to ensure that one of the most precise and most systematically ignored maps of the human interior remains inaccessible to the people who need it most. Imam Al-Ghazali, whose work remains among the most studied and respected in the Islamic scholarly tradition, spent his life mapping exactly what you are feeling right now. His work, Kimia-e-Sadat, The Alchemy of Happiness, begins with a single statement that Jung spent his entire life approaching without naming. "Oh, dear friend, the recognition of the self is the key to the recognition of the Lord." Al-Ghazali described the human heart as a mirror. When the mirror is clean, it reflects divine light. But when a person fills their life with the rust of envy, arrogance, and greed, that rust accumulates on the surface of the mirror, layer by layer, year by year, until the mirror can no longer reflect anything clearly. Jung called this the unconscious, the darkness within that distorts everything we see. Al-Ghazali called it the rusted mirror, and he provided what Jung never could: not just the diagnosis, the tazkiyah, the purification, the precise methodology for cleaning the mirror so that the light can finally enter. This is the manual modern man has been missing, not in the future, not in the next technological breakthrough, not in the next therapeutic modality. It was written 9 centuries ago, and it has been waiting for the conscious mind to be ready to read it. This outcry of your soul, this yearning for something bigger, is not a psychological problem. It is not solved by meditation. It is not answered by Eastern philosophy, not by Hinduism, not by Taoism. They touch the edges of it, but they cannot close it. Because this outcry, this specific ache that consciousness produces, is your soul crying for home. The home it came from. One source, one creator, the origin of everything in this universe. And there is a promise in the Quran that speaks directly to this moment. We will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves, until it becomes clear to them that it is the truth. The chaos in the world and the chaos in your heart are the same sign, pointing toward the same truth. The signs were always there. Jung read them his entire life. He just never followed them to where they were pointing. And the door to that home has only one key: surrender, sincere, with repentance, with love. Not the surrender of weakness, the surrender of a conscious mind that has finally found what it was searching for. One last thing before we leave you with this question. Modern spirituality has given you Taoism, Buddhism, Stoicism, Hinduism, every tradition from every corner of the world. But one tradition has been systematically kept from the conscious searching mind of the modern world. The Sufi tradition, one of the most precise and most systematically ignored maps of the interior journey that has ever existed, has been waiting behind a wall of conditioning that most people never think to question. Perhaps the answers you have been searching for were always there, just behind the wall you were told never to look behind. That question, we leave with you.